Ebusan for Ahaye GC News, Mima Obibia Akwaba, Ahadie, latest and hot news, Enkwa, Eramede, Bremo. Enuti, so we can subscribe, ya, Bomodia say, over subscribe to channel. It's as a Hadie, latest, hot, Eramede, bro. The over say, over click it, subscribe button. Now, a belly notification, or any new video be uploaded. When the first person I was Ebeka, ASR video. I feel we are now like if you like the video and give us a thumbs up, now feel. Share my offer so now when you be here now who and somewhere so Ghana memohanum. I feel yebura ye and somewhere ababeto yapnoso. Yinti a yes, Uncle Moya in semi yinti.
Show me any wrong thing the speaker has done. The speaker duly complied with the constitutional provision, summoned the house upon receiving your notice and the signatures who had triggered the recall, came to the proceedings. We waited for you guys more than an hour. You never showed up. Afenyo Markins should be apologizing to the speaker, not berating the speaker, not attacking the speaker, not mudslinging. And he should watch it, because some of us are beginning to discuss the way forward. He may soon be hauled before the Privileges Committee because he's not exempted. The fact that you are a leader of one side, does not exempt you from conduct which should be courteous and which should be proper. And you see, this business of not taking responsibility for your own conduct has to stop. It really has to stop. I mean, I am asking myself, if you look at all the crises in our country today, how is all of this back and forth, these Tom and Jerry games, this infantile posturing, the childishness? You won't come to the chamber, yet you're on the sidelines. When we step out, then you are going to pounce on us. We saw what Katie Hammond was doing. Then they're holding press conferences. So you were all around. I have heard the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong say, we were at the caucus meeting. But to be fair to Kennedy Agyapong, he was more sincere and honest. He said that he took responsibility that they should have informed the speaker that they were at a caucus meeting, so that probably the speaker would wait for them. So far, it's only Kennedy Agyapong, the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, who has been very mature, very honest, and truthful about their conduct, and has conceded that they didn't do right. They should have at least informed the speaker, informed the leadership on our side. You didn't do that. Then you are holding press conferences, berating the speaker, attacking us, calling us warlords who are on a warpath, who want to destroy democracy in Ghana. And I'm asking myself, all of these dishonest, infantile, childish games going on, how does it resolve the galamsey crisis? How does it resolve the exchange rate crisis?
Clear something for me.
The exchange rate has exceeded 17 as we speak.
Clear something for me. And Nana, please take note. If you have some information to that effect, you can also help me when it's your turn. Now, what we've been discussing so far has to do with what happened yesterday.
Yes.
But I'm informed that prior to the sitting yesterday, there is a business committee.
Yes.
That sits and decides on the business for that particular sitting.
Yes.
And then when they have done that, that is presented to the speaker through the clerk or something.
Yes.
So that then becomes the business for which we would have the sitting.
Exactly.
Now I'm told that no such thing happened. The business committee never met.
True.
Whether on Wednesday or Tuesday or Monday or any other day. So the business committee never met.
Never met.
So in fact, if both sides had been in the house yesterday, there was actually no business before the house. How come? I mean, take us to, first of all, is that the parliamentary practice? That first of all, there ought to be a business committee meeting, and this business committee, because I saw Dr. Ato Forson say that he even reached out to the other side to ask about all these things, and nothing about this business committee which should deal with what should be before Parliament came up.
Yes. So the standing orders are very clear. Standing Order 216, which I read, very clear. is the business committee that programs the business we will transact.
The business committee comprises of who?
It comprises of, under Order 2161, it comprises the leader of government business as chairperson, the minority leader as a ranking member, chief whips, and not more than 11 other members. And it's very clear under 2162A that their responsibility is to propose the business of each sitting and the order in which the business is taken. So they must meet before the plenary sits. Now, the Honorable Ato Forson, seeing that the business committee has not met previous days, arrived in Parliament very early at 7 a.m. and started making calls to colleagues on the other side that, look, we'll have a crisis if at least we don't meet this morning, because there have been instances where on the day of sitting, they will meet quickly and then the order paper will be prepared. All his calls were not responsive. It tells us that they had just determined to boycott proceedings. And it's not clear if, in their calculation, they were thinking that probably the Speaker would not respond to the constitutional mandate of calling the sitting so that they could once again run to the Supreme Court and say that the Speaker is engaged in an unconstitutional. It's because you just can't believe what is going on. You have an obligation under Order 216 to attend the business committee meetings, to program the business for the day. Because you see, this is an emergency sitting where you are the one bringing the business, proposing the business to be transacted. You attached it to the signatories that you collected. So you must send it to the business committee, explain exactly what the issues are. Then it is programmed. And that is what the plenary will meet to discuss. So
let me ask you a question about your group. Last week, the Speaker was in court over the issue of the injunction on him to proceed with those things. He went to court.
Yes.
His lawyers were there. They argued their case. The Supreme Court affirmed its earlier decision. They threw out the Speaker. They affirmed the earlier decision, which is that the Speaker should stay off the issue of the 4 until the final determination of the matter. Why did your group go sit on the right side of the Speaker?
Because we are standing up against judicial tyranny. Those who are conversant with the history of this world would recognize that there are many, many instances that the things that we deride, we abhor today, where judicial pronouncements, take slavery, take apartheid. You had certain courts in our history affirming, superintending, legitimizing all of those horrible things. So we are standing up against judicial tyranny. We maintain that under Article 115 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court of Ghana has absolutely no business doing what it is doing. When you have the likes of Gaiwu, the NPP parliamentary candidate for Hope, who is now on the bench and engaged in political decisions, because when you look at the panel, he was there playing a key role. This is just pure, just pure politics, not judicial pronouncements that advance the cause of our constitutional democracy. So it's a protest, and we have every right. That is why Speaker Bagbin was very, very clear. And please give me some time to read Speaker Bagbin's press conference. Speaker Bagbin, first of all, says that Parliament weakens itself when its members keep running to our courts to settle or seek favorable determinations of not just legal matters, but essentially political and governance questions. It is my strong belief the matter before the Supreme Court can be settled within Parliament through mature deliberations and compromises. Please make no mistake, not all the strong men President Obama warned us about come in military uniforms. Some come dressed in suits. I hope in my lifetime, Ghana shall have a parliament and a speaker who are truly independent from Jubilee or Flagstaff House or any headquarters in the conduct of parliamentary affairs. Let me state unequivocally, Parliament owes its duty to the people who established and elected its members to serve and represent them. The wheels of Parliament will continue to turn, and no person will be allowed to disrupt parliamentary proceedings or to undermine the democratic mandate of Parliament. When I ruled in January 2021 on the issue of which side constitutes majority and minority in Parliament, and the ruling was in favor of the majority group then, it was not an act of lawlessness as to cause constitutional crisis. When I ruled in the matter of the vacation of seats by Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, Honorable Henry Kote, and Honorable Sarah Asafo, I remember that matter. We had done the work, clearly seen the continuous absenteeism, no permission from the Speaker, and petitioned the Speaker. The Speaker ruled that they could stay on. The Speaker continues. It says that the question of the interpretation of the Constitution was not raised. When my predecessor declared the Fomena seat vacant in 2020, applying the same provisions of Article 97, the original jurisdiction of Supreme Court to interpret and enforce provisions of the Constitution was not invoked. Peace reigned in these instances, and nobody cried and ran to the Supreme Court under the guise of constitutional interpretation. If I may ask, is it a legal matter for the Supreme Court to decide as to which side of the House constitute the majority or minority? It is for good reason that justice is said to be blind, and further that justice must not only be done, but must be seen to be done in all cases, not only in those cases to which some people appear to be sentimentally attached. Fellow Ghanaians, I respectfully call on the Supreme Court to apply the same swiftness with which the motion ex parte in the instant matter was granted to the case involving the President's refusal to receive the Human Rights and Family Values Bill passed by Parliament, which has been pending before the same court for almost a year without being heard. Ladies and gentlemen, consistency is not just an ideal, but the foundation of life. The court cannot enjoy 4 MPs from serving their constituents for 12 weeks, but was eager to deny the constituents of Asin North their representation because of the issue of allegiance. The court can deny the constituents of SAR, Santro Kofi Akpafu Lolobi and Lipe, the people of SAR. And we heard President Mahama a few days ago when he went there. The people of SAR. The court can deny the constituents of SAR the sanctity of representation for years. For years, Chachichi Kata was in court. 3 years after they told him they don't have jurisdiction. 3 years. This same court, this same judiciary, they can't be bothered. The people of SAR, they are not human beings. They are not citizens. They are not Ghanaians. The double standards, the hypocrisy. Let me read on. The court cannot even see that the Constitution itself permits a denial of representation within 3 months to the holding of a general election. Let me expatiate on this. You know that under the Constitution, if an MP dies today, and we've entered that phase today, 3 months.
If there's a vacancy.
3 months to election, or there's a vacancy, there will be no by-election.
Yes.
We wait. Yes. So that 3 months. So where from this bizarre claim that the Supreme Court can live with itself if there is no representation? Bizarre rulings. Ladies and gentlemen, the Parliament of Ghana shall commence sitting as by law prescribed from tomorrow, November 7, 2024. I have earlier instructed the clerk to Parliament to transmit the LGBTQ plus bill to the President for his assent. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, I am aware of the business the government wants to transact through Parliament, and I'm willing to collaborate with government. Despite all that I have said, Ghana first, and all Ghanaians should bear the President, Parliament, the Judiciary, and all our leaders in prayer for the betterment of our people and country. Look, as Speaker Bagbin is saying, you can transact government business. It doesn't matter where you sit. I mean, if you look at our Constitution, the Constitution envisages many scenarios. Doc, you are aware. that we can have one day an independent president. Don't we have independent presidential aspirants? If Alan or Cheddar or any of those independent people are to win, who are their MPs? They clearly don't stand a chance to have the kind of MPs that NDC, NPP will command. We must learn to work with them. That scenario is envisaged under our constitution and under our standing orders. You can have a minority government, indeed, but for the shenanigans of 2020, the arm twisting, what they did in Techiman South, Sechuyoso, and other places, the NDC will have been a majority, and President Akufo Addo will have been president. How will he have governed? So all of these scenarios are possible, including a coalition government. You can have parties coming together. We've had a great alliance and others in our history. So all of these scenarios are possible. If you read the latest Afro barometer, 15% of Ghanaians are saying that they are going to vote skirt and blouse. 15%. That's a huge figure. So why is it that we can't have maturity at play? Speaker Bagbin is right that, look, this matter, all you need is maturity. Already, if you look at the 2020 election results, the Ghanaian people have voted for collaboration, for inclusivity, that let's not leave anybody behind. Let us learn to work together. Can't we, instead of running to the Supreme Court and obtaining all of these biased, partisan decisions, we cannot stand the test of time. Why can't we sit as adults and resolve these matters? I've been asking myself, really, if the veteran, the experience, Oseiche Mensa Bomso, if he was the leader of the NPP side, would this be the attitude? I've been asking myself, because I've listened to the likes of the Honorable Andiapia Kubi, the likes of the Honorable Joe Sewusu, who are not impressed with what is going on. You know, so let me conclude by submitting very, very, very forcefully that we as elected officials must be mindful of the crisis we face as a country. If you read the Afro barometer, 41% of Ghanaians are concerned about unemployment. All of this back and forth, these Tom and Jerry games, how does he address the unemployment crisis? 41% of Ghanaians, they are concerned about unemployment. Have you heard that cholera is back in our country with a bang, killing people? We have a health crisis. People are dying. Galamsey, LI 2462, it's not been repealed. We have pressing issues, urgent matters that require a parliament to sit. Finally, when we continue with these childish games, do you know the implications for even paying salaries from January? This month of November is where the budget must be presented. In an election year, the finance minister presents the budget for the 3 months, because it takes typically 3 months for the new government to appoint its ministers. You must do it in consultation with Council of State. Remember that. Then it goes to Parliament. The Appointments Committee must sit. Before they sit, they must advertise to the general public, those who have any information, any issue on why probably the person who has been nominated should not hold the position. So all of these things takes time. So the first 3 months, this month, we should be approving the budget for salaries for public sector workers. Who is thinking about that in all of this crisis? People calling emergency parliamentary sittings and not showing up. They rather go and hold press conferences to attack the speaker and their colleagues in parliament, when we should be talking amongst ourselves, right, showing maturity. Okay. So how are we going to resolve the crisis that we face and the potential crisis that are looming? So, look, Doc, these matters are not matters that we should joke with. We can grind this country to a halt. We can totally undermine our democracy.
Are we going to close at 10?
We can totally undermine our democracy.
Because I have to leave at 10.
We can totally undermine.
And if we let things go on and on and on and on,
we can totally undermine our democracy if we do not show that we are grown-ups, be mature, sit, and bring maturity to bear, and stop all of these infantile games.
We, the NPP Majority Caucus, have called you this afternoon to address some few concerns regarding the conduct of the Speaker of Parliament. You may recall that Mr. Speaker made some pronouncements on the floor of the House, which resulted in the NDC Minority Caucus proclaiming themselves to be the so-called new majority. Speaker subsequently at a pre-sitting meeting, after the Supreme Court has stayed his ruling, said to us as leadership that he has not declared the NDC as the majority. Neither has he expressed a constitutional opinion on those 4 individuals, and that what he did amounted to an opinion that he expressed on the statement by Honorable Ato Forson. At the said pre-sitting meeting, I, on behalf of my colleagues, the majority, inquired from Mr. Speaker whether our friends who were seated to his right would be allowed by him to sit there, because that was not their rightful place, in view of his own admission that he had not proclaimed them as such nor declared them as such. Speaker responded that indeed sitting arrangement of Parliament was a responsibility of the clerk to Parliament. This took me to the next step of inquiring from the clerk whether he allowed the NDC minority to sit on our seats. He said, indeed, we had our name tags, that is the NPP majority had their name tags at those seats that we already occupied, and that it was not he who did that. So obviously, one was expecting Mr. Speaker to direct the NDC to do the right thing. He refused. Subsequently, Mr. Speaker engaged the Council of State, or perhaps let me say the Council of State held meetings with Mr. Speaker. As a majority leader and leader of government business and leader of the House, I had the opportunity to also meet with them. The understanding I had from the meeting as a sequel to the meeting they had already held with Mr. Speaker was to the effect that Mr. Speaker will direct the NDC minority to sit at their right place, which is the left of Mr. Speaker. That was the understanding I had. I subsequently had a call from the Peace Council. The Peace Council informed me that they had engaged Mr. Speaker on the issue before Parliament, and Mr. Speaker had indeed indicated to the Peace Council that he had not ruled, neither has he proclaimed the NDC minority, and that should we resume or should Parliament reconvene, the NDC minority will go back to their seats. Several other prominent Ghanaians, who for some good reasons I would not want to mention their names, who had engaged Speaker on this matter, had also reached out to us, the majority caucus, and assured us that Mr. Speaker's engagement with them resulted in he admitting that indeed there was no such ruling, which ruling would now proclaim the NDC as a so-called new majority. Now, from the horse's own mouth, granted that all these prominent people misrepresented to us, the majority. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker himself, in his press conference in the afternoon, enumerated a number of things. Amongst them, he said he had not made a ruling. He told the whole of the country that he had not made a ruling. So, if he claims that what he did was a formal communication in response to a statement from the minority leader, then why is he supervising chaos in the House? What Mr. Speaker did today amount to supervising chaos and bringing the image of democracy to disrepute. Yes. The NDC minority members were all over claiming that we, the majority, did not attend a so-called business committee meeting that they called. Who are they? When did we constitute a new committee in Parliament? I chaired the business committee of Parliament. And when the clerk to Parliament asked for the business committee meeting, I was very explicit that the subject matter of the recall, which was approved by Mr. Speaker, is a very matter for consideration. So there's no need to have another business committee. Business committee is to decide on the business of the House. On this occasion, you have made an application, which application has been granted. And the items that were approved were the very things to be decided on. So I directed that the order paper should be printed to reflect all those items. Fortunately, Mr. Speaker himself read the two letters. The first one and the second one that amended the first, and indicated to the whole country that indeed our deputy majority whip, the second deputy majority whip, had actually sent those letters to him. He acknowledged him as such. Clearly, the NDC is on a warpath. They want confusion in this country. They want lawlessness in this country. And all these are being supervised by Mr. Speaker. Yes. It is sad. It is very sad. And I would want to entreat you, the media, to call them out, to call the NDC out, to call Mr. Speaker out. Because what is it? What at all is the issue? You have made a ruling which you now say is an opinion. We disagreed with you. We've gone to another forum where, by law, that forum has the power to interpret the law. We respected Mr. Speaker's ruling. In all of these, my first interview after his ruling was to the fact that I respect him, I disagree with him, therefore my colleagues and I were withdrawing from the chamber and will pursue the matter at the Supreme Court, which matter he was already aware was pending at the Supreme Court. And I will repeat the point I made a week ago. Mr. Speaker had assured me in the presence of the second deputy speaker, Honorable Amoakwesiama, in his office, that in view of the pendency of the suit, although the NDC had filed that petition, which petition was mounted by Harun Idrisu, he would hear them, but will wait and abide the decision of the court. I was fair enough, I was transparent enough to have engaged him as a head of this assembly, that because Haruna had raised the issue and to avoid confusion, I was going to the Supreme Court to seek interpretation. I did not go to Supreme Court in bad faith, and it wasn't the case that a matter was happening in Parliament and I ran away to the Supreme Court. I ran away from Parliament to Supreme Court to seek refuge. No, I foresaw confusion. And indeed, what Harun Idrisu filed, why did they set it aside? Harun Idrisu had initiated a process under Order 99 of our rules, which will require a process to be set in motion. Why did they suddenly come under Order 93, which allows for a statement? When in the history of this parliament, since 1992, did a statement metamorphose into a motion? Which motion now will require a ruling? You see, Speaker is setting the country on fire. Yesterday, we were disappointed with his non-reconciliatory posture during this press conference. Indeed, we, the majority caucus, call on Mr. Speaker one more time to demonstrate statesmanship. We want Mr. Speaker to know that although we were not happy on the day he was elected, some of our colleagues perhaps has seen something good in him. It wasn't the NDC that put him there for him to do the bidding of the NDC. Perhaps people felt that he could be someone who will bring all of us together. Yes. There are things that we cannot say into the camera. But Mr. Speaker is hurting democracy. Yes. What Mr. Speaker is doing is to rehearse what the NDC is likely to do should they lose power, to bring chaos, to cause confusion. How can Mr. Speaker say that he respects the Constitution, but he will not subject himself to the dictate of the judiciary? How can you say that the judiciary is in collusion, is colliding with the president, and you mention the president as a person, as an individual? How? What Mr. Speaker is doing is in bad faith. First of all, he subjected himself to the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. And after losing at the Supreme Court, he turns around to attack the Supreme Court. His own lawyer, my respected senior Thaddeus Sori, in court, argued forcefully that Mr. Speaker made a ruling, and he sought to justify the so-called ruling and even challenge the jurisdiction of the court in entertaining my application. For him, the matter comes under Article 99 of the Constitution and not under Article 197. 97 G and H of the Constitution. To the NDC lawyer, to the Speaker's lawyer, who had received firm instructions from the Speaker, the position of the Speaker was home and dry, was on all fours right, and that Mr. Speaker had ruled, and that those members could not come to Parliament. Again, he had emphasized that the right forum was the High Court. Yes. All these points canvassed by Mr. Speaker's lawyer were overruled. The matter was heard in the full glare of the public. There was a live broadcast of the Supreme Court proceedings of that day. The ruling of the Supreme Court has been procured by me as plaintiff. The Supreme Court bailiff has served the ruling, the second ruling, on Mr. Speaker. His lawyers were given up to 3rd of November to file their written submissions, statements of case in defense, if any.
You waiting for winning and someone about better yepono so because so when you subscribe ya bomodia say or subscribe to channel since I had the latest and hot news in kwa and I'm bro I feel we are now like video the video and afi share my offer for so now when you be here now who the ekoso ewo Ghana memoir also betimi otchere wadwen afa aye and some way nyina ho ewo comment box ni mo beti minkabium in my next video.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.